Hello YouTube, it's 12:38 p.m. Saturday, November 13th, 2021, and I'm having another one of those holy shit, the public transit sucks here kind of days. So I just left the post office, got my Miles Davis album shipped, and coming out I looked at the Valley Metro app to see when the bus would be coming to this bus stop here, and it showed it just being a few minutes away, and I was like, oh, okay, I got time, I can walk over there. And I walked over here, and I guess the bus drove right by when I was looking in another direction, and according to the app, it drove by maybe 2 minutes before its scheduled time to arrive here. So I don't know if I was, I don't know. I mean, there's the up ahead. You can kind of see where the vehicle is coming out right there. You know, that's more or less where I started walking down Van Buren. Went down the street to that corner and crossed that crosswalk and walked over here. I don't know if I was, you know, looking at my phone, didn't see a drive by, but I sure as hell didn't hear it. But yeah, I got to the bus stop. I checked it. I checked the app, and it suddenly didn't show that bus coming for that stop. And I'm like, well, what the hell? And I scroll forward, and I see that, like, it, you know, shouldn't be. The time, if the time was showing, would have been still 2 minutes away. And I zoomed out to see if I could find the tracking of the bus and where it was at, which isn't always the most reliable thing. I mean, shit, yesterday a bus that was on its way to me kept showing as being off the coast of Africa, and that was interesting. But anyway, I looked at it, and sure as shit, it was between here and that freeway overpass there. It just, like, literally drove right past me 2 minutes early, probably as I was walking behind that tree. Or maybe walking on that side and not really watching for a bus, because it was, you know, still not supposed to show up in 4 more minutes. So here I am, and the next bus that hits this stop isn't for another, you know, 25 minutes. So they're on 30-minute intervals on this road. Kind of sucks. Anyway, I wasn't going to shoot another video, but I was actually thinking about doing a TikTok video, because I could sum this up in a minute. But what the hell? Let's do another vlog to help pass the time. But this is a brand new bus shelter here at 48th and 48th and Van Buren, and as you can see, it's kind of decorative. The shelter that it replaced was kind of a more traditional one that had a bench and a little bit of shade on the bench, and then a billboard next to it. So this new structure caused them to lose that billboard revenue. Not that I really care a lot about the billboard revenue, but I would imagine that if properly managed, that could help offset the cost of operating the buses, and that's a good thing. I would imagine the one that was there was probably very similar to this one over here. I don't remember exactly what was there, but I mean, here you see the little. Ooh, can I put my finger into the frame? There it is. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. You see on the left side the little billboard and the bench. And anyway, the thing they've replaced it with, while it's a lot more attractive on the outside, it is kind of lacking in places to sit down, and it's built like a little cage of sorts. Like I can stand here, but then I can't see outside very much. I can stand here, and this is the only spot to sit down. That's it. And to give you a size comparison, there's my size 10.5 shoe on it. So if you have much of a butt, or if you have a bag you're carrying, you're not going to be able to put it all there. So yeah, only room for one person to sit down. It can't be a very large person. And then when you're sitting here, it's absolutely impossible to see if the bus is coming. And of course, if you're not at the curb doing the Watusi dance and waving your arms about, they will drive right by you. So yeah, thanks for Thanks for fucking up the bus stop, Phoenix. Interesting piece of modern art, but that is pretty freaking useless as a bus stop and a shelter place to wait for the bus. And I'm sure that was made that way to try to discourage homeless people from sleeping on the bench, but everything they do to make the bus benches less appealing to homeless people makes it that much less appealing and usable for people that use the buses as transportation. And oh my god, I hope I get my car back soon. So had a interesting conversation this morning with my so-called girlfriend. I'm not even going to go off on that tangent. I keep saying I'm going to. I had an almost intimate moment a few days ago. I was going to talk about that, and I alluded to it over the course of several different videos and never went there. And I'm doing it again because I really don't want to talk about that. But we're still sort of on speaking terms. So she told me that she called my mechanic, Rob. She's having some issues with her car, and I don't really know what the issues are on her car. I mean, I want to say it's because she maintains it really poorly, but that's kind of a blanket statement, and certainly is a pot calling the kettle black moment for a person who 6 weeks ago blew his engine because, according to the mechanic, there was no coolant or oil in it. And I really felt like I was on top of that. I still kind of, part of me wants to blame that on my mechanic for having a temperature gauge that said that it was not overheating, and never at any time did any kind of warning light come on telling me there was a problem with the oil. And not only that, maybe a week before it happened, more or less, I had just topped off the oil. So, you know, and granted, maybe I should have got it down to him. This place is busy and open for a change. So, taco shop here. Here's a taco shop. Bread and Honey House Restaurant. I don't know what the heck they sell there. That's the first time I think I've ever walked by it that it was open. It smells good. I kind of want to go in there and get something to eat, but I don't really have any money to be spending on that. And I just splurged a couple hours ago and got a steak crunch wrap from Taco Bell. And by splurge, I mean that's a pretty small item to get for $4.50. But it's still pretty tasty, even though I noticed they're making them smaller than they used to make them, and certainly more expensive than they used to be. And the real curious item about the steak crunch wrap is it's no longer on the menu inside of the restaurant. In fact, I was looking up the menu and I noticed that it said, you know, breakfast crunch wrap, and it said steak or no, it didn't say steak. It said, I showed the price. I showed the price for the meal, and then the price is just, you know, the item a la carte. And it said bacon or sausage. So I asked the guy at the counter, it's like, hey, it just says bacon or sausage. Can I get one? Can I get one with steak? He goes, yeah, no problem. I said, well, why doesn't it say? I said, do you guys still make the steak crunch wrap? And he said, yeah. I said, well, why isn't it on the menu? And it never occurred to him until I could tell that he'd never noticed it wasn't on the menu. Well, here we go. It's more affordable housing. That's nice. It's covered parking for his bicycle and his tent. Oh yeah, Phoenix is definitely turning into LA. I'd be nervous as hell as that guy about somebody else stealing my bike, but I guess he doesn't have a lot of options. And I wouldn't be surprised to be sitting in there tweaking with a gun, ready to shoot the first person who fucks with his bike. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, so Taco Bell. Yeah, he seemed completely oblivious that wasn't on the menu anymore until I pointed it out to him. And he's like, well, I don't know why it's not on the menu anymore. But I did notice that the price that I was charged for that was almost $1 more than had I ordered it with sausage or bacon. And I understand that steak is more expensive than sausage or bacon, but it almost feels like this is a deliberate effort on the part of Taco Bell to downplay and hide how much their prices are going up. So I don't know, mixed feelings about that. Didn't like that, but to be honest, it wouldn't have, you know, I expected that was roughly going to be the price, and honestly I was just craving it, and I didn't care because I knew I had enough cash in my pocket to pay for it. But yeah, I do notice a lot of these sort of things going on to try to hide inflation and rising costs, and that was just one example I noticed today. I definitely noticed that it's the Crunchwrap is smaller than it used to be. Like a Taco Bell Crunchwrap used to have the reason they call it a Crunchwrap is because it's wrapped in a grilled flour tortilla, but it wraps a corn tortilla, crunchy corn tortilla, that's Crunch Wrap, and they used to be just a little bit bigger than a tostada, and the corn tortilla that the shell that they wrapped inside of it was a tostada shell. I couldn't tell you what type of shell they're using today, but the tostada was dropped off Taco Bell's menu quite some time ago, and whatever they're using now is notably smaller, because it's honestly, it looked about 40% smaller than what I recall they used to be. So that was a little disappointing. Oh, look at this guy, just turned left onto Van Buren into the far right lane and cut that other guy off. People drive terrible. Anyway, so yeah, 40% smaller, 40% more expensive. Let's go, Brandon. Anyway, that's yeah, that's the reality that's the reality we're living in here. Oh, and I noticed that apparently the prices for Circle K 32-ounce fountain drinks have gone up as well. The other day I mentioned, you know, when I brought that homeless woman Marissa a blanket, and I ended up staying there with her so she could get some sleep without worrying about being robbed or raped before she woke up. Yeah, and I sat there until the store reopened at 5 a.m. Went in and I did get did go ahead and pay $6 for another month of Sip and Save, and got myself a soda. Anyway, I went back to that, walked back to that same, after Taco Bell, I walked over that same Circle K again today, and was going to pay, actually, no, anyway, I was trying to do the Sip and Save, but I didn't tell her the Sip and Save. I just kind of assumed since she sold it to me, she'd have remembered that I had it, especially since I've been going in there for months and getting Sip and Save drinks. But anyway, she read me my total, and it used to be that the total for a 32-ounce Polar Pop, formerly known as Thirst Buster, used to be that was a little bit less than $1. Enough that you could, I wouldn't feel anything of if I was in a hurry, giving the cashier $1 and just walking off, letting them keep the, 3-4 pennies of change. And I think she said after tax, and that was the price after tax. She told me it was, $1.12 or something. So not a big price increase, but it's little things that are adding up right now, in light of my income being down. And certainly I don't know anybody whose income is going up. So most everybody's income is just staying the same while prices are going up. Anyway, it's that stuff is frustrating. So this is a bus stop I've complained about before and mentioned. It's I said before it was Mini Mobile's building, and that was wrong. It's not. Mini Mobile's building is actually just to the east of here, but on the same corner. This is the Arizona Federal Credit Union's building, and based on that signage and then that whole giant building behind it having no other signage, I'm going to assume this is all their building. And this little patch of water here, patch of grass here, this is what they overly water. And as you can see, there's puddles there, puddles over there. and that bus stop is always super soggy. Half the time you can't even sit down on the bench because it's wet, and you can even see right there that there's kind of a slick spot on the sidewalk from water pooling there. Yeah, you can kind of see a little bit of a puddle in the curb. It's hot and dry enough today, it's evaporated, but it's not unusual for there to be puddles on that curb, and I can kind of see it's muddy behind the stop. And loaded with trash. That stop is always loaded with trash. It's yeah, it's kind of sad. They just got that watering system on autopilot to make the bus stop non-stop soggy. And I guess if you're driving by, you know, it keeps the grass pretty and green, but it seems like it would be better if they just hired somebody at a living wage to actually come and water the grass and pick up the trash. There's a lot of trash out in front here, and that don't look good. In fact, not only is there trash here, there's always trash at the bus stops, and I almost want to blame the bus riders for being slobs and leaving it there, but looking at that trash can, I get the feeling it's empty.